mean, I've been against the Ivan Toney signing. I'm not sure, but if we can get him for 20 million, or we could swap him for Eddie Nketiah, that would be a great deal for Arsenal. Football Dad's Army. So Arsenal win their first game of the season, beating Wolves 2-0 at the Emirates Stadium. Apart from a couple of stupid mistakes, there was a couple of loose passes from, none other than Saliba. Thomas Partey made a few little mistakes later on in the game, although Arsenal dominated the first half. In the second half, Wolves did have a couple of efforts on target, thanks to Raya's 2 brilliant saves that I can remember from that game. I think Arsenal done pretty well overall. Slightly concerning left-hand side. 2 players on that left-hand side for me, Zinchenko and Martinelli. I hate to say it about Martinelli, but I think this is going to be this season. I think he's going to have to step up and get his form back. Otherwise, I fear for him, for his future. Maybe could be even as soon as January, where Arteta may, decide to try and sell Martinelli and look for a replacement for him, because he's not looking himself. I don't know if his head's gone. His confidence is at an all-time low. And I fear for him starting the next game. I honestly believe that Trossard is the better player between the two. And I think Trossard will definitely be starting next week against Aston Villa when we go away to Villa Park, because he didn't do himself any favours, Martinelli. He didn't look good at all, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments about that one. And also Zinchenko. Although had a decent pre-season, for me, when Julian Timber come on to replace him, we looks a lot better in that defence, even though we've got the best defence in the league, which was proven last season. We looks a lot better when Timber come on to replace Zinchenko. And I think Zinchenko, although he's got a new number, a new squad number on the back of his shirt, which indicates that he's staying at the club. I mean, I think Arteta really likes him, but I can't see what he likes about him. Hopefully that he might be used in more of the midfield role as a backup on that left side like I was talking about with Anthony Herbert before. And we'll have Timber or Calafiori in that left back position, because for me, if it was a better team we was playing against, I'd fear if it was, say, a Man City or Liverpool, even a United or a Spurs, Chelsea even, one of the big 6 teams, I think it would have been a whole different story for Arsenal. Saliba, for me, looks, I mentioned it at the start of the video, Saliba looks a little bit off the pace. I mean, there was a few loose passes, which is pretty surprising. He's normally very, very solid. But, let's just see what happens there. I mean, it's too early to throw the... It's too early to throw the book at Saliba just yet, because how well we played last season, for the whole of last season as well. It was absolutely immense, and a few little minor mistakes could have been costly. If it against a bigger team like I've just mentioned, yeah, it could have been costly. But Raya as well proved why, ultimately he's a #1 choice goalkeeper, and the reason why Ramsdale hasn't been able to get back into the team. So for me, Raya is nailed on our #1 choice again for this season. And, unfortunately, I do believe that Aaron Ramsdale will be leaving the club, because for his own sake, for his own career, he's got to push for the move himself, I believe. Because if we don't get the right money for him, he's going to have to stay. And I think he's got to force the issue. I think he's got to force it himself to get that move away. We are looking at other goalkeepers, but that's just in case we do have to sell Aaron Ramsdale, I think. Anyway, News on Eddie Nketiah. Now, Eddie Nketiah it's well known that all season we've been trying to offload Eddie Nketiah along with Emil Smith-Rowe, left for Fulham earlier on in the window, which, you know, a lot of Arsenal fans ain't happy about, including myself. But we do need to offload Eddie Nketiah if we're going to buy a new striker. And which, if we had a new striker, if we had somebody else at the top of the pile in the number 9 position, even though Havertz did score a wonderful header in that first half from a brilliant Bukayo Saka free cross, you know, we still need something a bit different. We still need something, and Eddie Nketiah is not the difference. He's not the one. He's definitely not it. And Marseille have now signed another striker, so he won't be going to Marseille. There's a few other clubs that are interested in Eddie Nketiah. One minute you hear they're interested, the next minute you hear that they've called their interest. And the latest team was Bournemouth, who sold Solanke to Spurs, and then, you know, they was interested in Nketiah, and for whatever reason they called their interest. So the other team I've heard little whispers was Crystal Palace now have shown interest in Eddie Nketiah. So hopefully, you know, we can offload him and then before the end of the transfer window, get a decent replacement, get someone to compete with Jesus and Havertz for that striking position, like a Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. Victor Osimhen apparently has had some interest in joining Arsenal or Chelsea, so, you know, we're not sure what's going to happen there. Could be all media talk, could be the agents pushing an agenda just to try and force the issue of these clubs to try and buy their players. But, you know, I don't believe we're going to get a Victor Osimhen. I think that'd be a lot of money, and it'd be too much for Arsenal to buy a Victor Osimhen. I've heard there's negotiations with Victor Gyökeres. He's got a release clause, and a very high release clause as well, around 80 million, something like that it was, I heard. But I mean, I did also hear that Sporting Lisbon were happy to negotiate a fee, you know, just to reduce that price. And if Arsenal could get him for around 50-60 million pound, I think that would be a bargain for us. Let me know also what you think in the comments there. The interest in Ivan Toney is cooled completely since before Euro 2024. There was news. There was, you know, maybe we could go back in for him. We did try and sign him, I believe, in January when he came back from his ban, but Brentford wanted too much money for him, and they're still trying to dig their heels in for a few quid. But I've also heard that, you know, they may be forced to reduce their asking money of around, it was 80 million, then I heard it was 60 million, but now it could be even as low as 20 million for Brentford striker Ivan Toney. Now, in that case, I would take a chance on him for that sort of money. I mean, I've been against the Ivan Toney signing. I'm not sure, but if we can get him for 20 million, or we could swap him for Eddie Nketiah, that would be a great deal for Arsenal. Just if we're not going to go and buy another striker, rather than keep Eddie Nketiah for another season, just go and swap him for Ivan Toney. See if Brentford will do the deal. We'll have a swap deal, and then we can try and see. You know, there's question marks over Ivan Toney's attitude, why nobody wants to sign him, and that is a worrying factor. And we all know what Arteta's like with players with egos. You know he doesn't like them. But a swap deal for Eddie Nketiah to bring Ivan Toney our way, maybe I could get on board with that one. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you soon.